Welcome to the Michael Singer Podcast. Michael Singer is the author of two widely influential New York Times bestsellers, The Untethered Soul and The Surrender Experiment, both considered modern classics on the spiritual journey. Michael Singer lives and teaches at the Temple of the Universe, the yoga and meditation center he founded in 1975 near Gainesville, Florida. Produced in partnership with Shakti Publications, the Michael Singer Podcast brings you select recordings from Michael Singer's teachings at the Temple of the Universe. This episode is on doing the real work to free yourself. Sounds True would also like you to know about an extraordinary 8-part video course we've created with Michael Singer. It's called Living from a Place of Surrender, The Untethered Soul in Action, an online course many people report to be utterly life-changing. You can find out more at michaelsingerpodcast.com. That's michaelsingerpodcast.com. And you can save 15% off any Michael Singer program available through Sounds True when you use the code SINGER15 at checkout. Again, that's SINGER15. And now, doing the real work to free yourself with Michael Singer.
Jai Gurudev, Jai Masters. As you become clearer in life, you realize that spiritual growth and personal growth are exactly the same thing. They're just looking at two sides of the same coin. Why is that? Spiritual growth is supposed to be about God, and personal growth is supposed to be about making something good of yourself, cleaning out yourself, raising yourself. I would prefer that nobody knew anything about God, that they only knew about cleansing themselves. Because if you're not there yet, God's just going to be a concept to you, a belief, which is of no use, nothing. If you work with yourself to raise yourself, you will come into a state where you will understand what they meant by the word God. You don't have to use the word God. Use any word you want. It's just describing a state of being. So what does it mean to grow personally? It means to notice that you have issues inside yourself. You think you have issues outside. No, you have issues inside. There are fears, insecurities, desires, needs, wants, self-consciousness, embarrassment, guilt. These are all words that describe things going on inside ourselves. Guilt is not something outside, it's something inside. Need is not something outside, it's something inside. Yes, you're guilty about something. Yes, you need something, or you think you do, but the actual experience is inside of you. Those experiences, these terrible things I just talked about, that's how you go to God. Those are your pathway. You cannot ignore those, you cannot run away from those. They are literally the roadmap of achieving spiritual states. But people don't want to do that. They want to say, well, but those things are not spiritual. Guilt is not spiritual. Insecurity is not spiritual. Embarrassment is not spiritual. So how in the world can they be the roadmap to spirituality? Because they are what is in the way of spirituality. And since they are what is in the way, they're what you must deal with. They are the obstacles you must remove. Well, if I remove the obstacles, how do I become spiritual? Wrong. If you remove the obstacles, you are spiritual. There's nothing else to do. Period. Nothing. All right? If you have a river or a stream in which there's rapids and there's spray and there's currents and eddies, and you look at it carefully and you say, well, upstream it's calm, flowing nicely, but here, oh my God, it's a complete mess. It's rapids and eddies and sprays and all kinds of things. If you look, what you're going to see is that there are rocks, there are obstacles, blockages in that stream that when this water flow is coming down, they're hitting those things, and they are then creating currents, creating disturbance. So if you ask me, what should I do if I want to get rid of the disturbance? And I tell you, take the rocks out. And you say to me, well, I understand I could take the rocks out, but then what do I do to get rid of the disturbance? That's what I just told you. You take that stuff out of there, there's nothing else to do, period. You take those rocks out, it becomes absolutely still and beautiful and a beautiful flow. There is nothing else to do on your spiritual path except remove the obstacles to spirituality. Once you do that, and to whatever degree you do that, it just is the natural state of things. Spirituality is the natural state of things. It is not something you achieve. It's not something you strive for. It's not something you do something. There are no techniques to achieve God. There are no techniques to achieve God. There are techniques to remove the obstacles that you put in the way of God, right? But there are no techniques to achieve God. You see the difference? All right. So that's where everybody goes wrong. So the Gita says, of men who seek me, there are some who reach very high states. They're very reverent. They're great. One, perchance, comes to know me as I am. Whoa, that's scary, right? That's because of what I just told you. You do all the tapasya and renunciations and everything you want to do, and all you did was become somebody who people respect because you did all these fire ceremonies and tapasyas and did mantras for 67 years, and so without breathing, everything, anything you want. All right? It is the removal of the blockages, then the natural state. Really, that analogy I gave you of removing those rocks from the water, you can see that. Once those rocks are gone, you don't have to get an iron and iron out the current. You don't have to do anything to make it right. It was the obstacles that were keeping the experience from being its natural state. It is exactly the same inside of you. That's why these disturbed forces inside of you are the roadmap to spirituality. They are the rocks, period. All right? Those things I described, all those dirty little words, embarrassment, self-consciousness, guilt. It's just beautiful. So what do I do with those? Now, the first is to recognize, yes, I'm a mess. Like AA. My name is Joe and I'm an alcoholic. My name is Mickey, I'm a flaming mess. All right? You just sit there and look in there and be honest about what you see. I don't care about what you want to see. That's the biggest trap in the world. That's spiritual ego. That's like sitting here on the side of the stream. I'm going to wear that analogy out. Sitting here on the side of the stream, the rapids and all the currents are going, and you're sitting there saying, I visualize calm. I'm visualizing calm. I don't see calm. Something wrong. I'm not doing it right. I visualize calm. What's the matter with you, man? Remove the rocks. But in order to remove the rocks, you better be honest about what you're looking at. All right? Remember Shakespeare? This above all, to know self be true, and it shall follow as the night the day. Thou shalt not be false to any man. All right? This is the truth. You have to be willing to look and see what you see. Do not try to put nice white lights around your garbage and sit there and say, I'm pure. All right? It's not the right. That is spiritual ego. That is, I want to be there. I'm not there. So I'll use affirmation. I'll use this. I'll tell people I am. I'll behave in a way. I'll dress accordingly. I'll do every single thing that a spiritual person would do. Then I'm spiritual. No, you're not. It's nothing. It's the biggest trap that could possibly exist. There's only one way out, and that is to do the work of removing these obstacles that are in the way of the state of absolute beauty and ecstasy of divinity. So, okay, first you recognize. Don't be afraid to recognize. There's nothing wrong with seeing the rocks. If you don't, I'm going to use this analogy. If you don't like seeing the rocks, you will never get them out, right or wrong. If I sit there and somebody told me there are rocks in the water and they're causing all the currents, I'm so afraid of them because I don't like the currents. I don't want to see rocks. Do you? No, I don't like rocks. They cause trouble. They must be of the devil or something, all right? So I don't want to see these rocks. Well, you're never going to see them. You're never going to deal with them. You're never going to do anything because you're afraid of them. You understand that? That's denial. It's psychology, denial, fear, etc. You have to be willing to sit there and say, I have now progressed spiritually to the point of understanding that I am blocking the flow of God, the flow of Shakti, the flow of spirit from inside of me. I am doing it. I am doing it. There, that's your first point, right? Nobody's making you drink. Go to AA, right? Nobody's making you drink. Oh, no, she drives me to drinking. No. My job drives, no. Go, come back when you're ready, right? You're the one who's drinking. You're the one who picks the glass up and pours stuff in it and puts it in your mouth and swallows, right or wrong. Nobody else is doing it. It's the same thing here. You have put these blockages inside yourself, and you are holding these blockages inside of yourself. So if you're not willing to look at them, nothing good is going to happen. Do you understand that? All right. So you start with what we call witness consciousness. Krishnamurti called it the seat of objective observation. But you will not be willing to look at yourself objectively while you're judging yourself. Do you understand? And what that means is, I don't want to see what I'm looking at. That's what judging does. You have to be excited. I remember when I first got to the point that instead of thinking that stuff inside of me that was causing all this trouble was what I don't want, it's terrible, it's keeping me from God. I try to meditate above it. I do anything I can to get rid of it. And then I realized, no, this is what's keeping me from God. Therefore, if I see something, it's exciting. You have to change your entire attitude about yourself. The worse it is inside, the better. The more trouble it causes, oh my God, I got myself a big fish. All right? You have to feel that I am willing to deal with this stuff. I am willing to look at this stuff, not get in it. Well, that's the whole thing. Psychology goes the wrong way. They get you started, right? But we're going to see the difference between spirituality and psychology as we go through this. So first, you have to be awake. If you are not awake, what does that mean, I'm not awake? We talk about it spiritually, right? They're awake. Not enlightened, just awake. What does it mean? It means that normally the stuff that's going on inside is so overwhelming, it is so strong. Not only do you not want to look at it and you can't deal with it, but you are lost in it. You're in the rapids drowning. Well, you can't very well be outside looking at the rocks. You're trying to survive. You're trying to keep your head above the water, aren't you? Right? You're trying to take a breath, trying to everyone not go down 3 times. That's where a normal human being is they are in the fear of drowning. So they're not looking at what's causing it. They're just trying to keep their head above the water. Can you relate to that? All right? The worse our times are, the more we're like that. You have to be able to get out of the water, which is, again, witness consciousness. Your consciousness has extricated itself from being in it. It didn't get rid of it yet, but it can watch it. It can see it. All right, and how do you do that? Meditation. Meditation is great. Mantra's great. See, all of a sudden there's techniques. But the techniques are not about going to God. The techniques are about first getting out of the water. Well, why would meditation work? Because the noise that's going on inside of you is creating disturbance. When you sit down to meditate, what you're sitting there saying, I don't care how you meditate, it's your business. When you sit down to meditate, you're saying, for let's say 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening. That's what nowadays they teach you guys. Fine. All right? You sit down, and for this 15 minutes, it's not about going to God. That's why people can't meditate, because they just set these standards and then they burn themselves out. It's not about seeing blue pearls. It's not about seeing white lights. It's not about going to God. It's about, I have set aside 15 minutes to practice being aware of being aware. That's what it is. Don't come to me and say, I can't meditate. I say, why? There's no such thing. I don't understand. Why? You say, well, every time I sit down, my mind just goes crazy. It won't stop. It keeps talking. I'm going to touch your feet. I'm going to pranam to you, bow down, I'll touch your feet. You have to come back 3 times where you figure out what I'm doing. All right? You just told me that for 15 minutes you were the witness of your mind. My mind won't shut up. It keeps talking about this. Somebody's watching. So during that 15 minutes, you actually watched that your mind wouldn't shut up. That's a very high state. Do you see why people screw up meditation? Because they define meditation as the mind shutting up. No, that's not. That's just a state that you can have there. But if your mind doesn't shut up, and you're aware that your mind doesn't shut up, if your heart is bothering you and you're aware that your heart's bothering you, I was trying to meditate, but then this thing came back up from before that bothered me. I don't know why, but it happened years ago, and my heart started hurting, and I just sat there and watched it. Like, good. Do you understand that? Right? At least twice a day, please, for 15 minutes, take the seat of objective observation and notice what is going on inside. Don't judge what's going on inside. Don't decide what's supposed to be going on inside. Do you see that? Just notice. That's your job. Just notice. Who's not capable of doing that? Truth is, you have no choice. You're going to notice what's going on inside. Okay? Now, I'm not saying you can't use techniques such as follow your breath. What does that do? All right? I notice that if I just leave it alone, it keeps talking. Very good. At least you've noticed that. Believe me, it didn't start talking when you sat down. Do you understand that? People tell me that. No, when I try to meditate, my mind gets worse. That is a lie. That is ridiculous, right? It's just when you sit down to meditate, you notice that your mind is pretty darn bad, all right? It didn't get worse when you sat down. It's going on the entire time. You're just noticing it. So yes, notice. Then if you have been given techniques, such as following your breath, is a very nice technique to use. What is the purpose of that? There's nothing spiritual about following your breath. There is, but I won't discuss it. There's nothing spiritual about following your breath. What you're doing is taking your consciousness off of your mind and putting it onto something else, like the movement of your breath or counting your breath. That's why these techniques work, because you are practicing being aware of what's going on in there. Then you are practicing what I call extricating your consciousness, freeing your consciousness, liberating your consciousness from having to watch what's going on in there. You're not judging, you're not suppressing it, right? If I'm looking at you and I'm having a problem, I just look over here. Oh, problem gone, right? Just move your consciousness. Don't mess. I don't have to change you, all right? I just stop looking. When you watch your breath, your consciousness has now taken its awareness off of the noise of your mind, and it is watching your breath or counting. That's why mantra works, right? Again, these things have deeper spirituality also, but I'm not talking about that, right? You do a mantra, and what you've done is tell your mind, I want you to repeat Guru Om, God, whatever the heck it is, whatever you want to do for a mantra, right? If I teach my mind to do that, and then my mind starts talking about other things, I now have a choice. I can either pay attention to what my mind is saying on its own, or I can pay attention to the mantra. That's all you have to do. And wait till you see what you'll change your entire life. You just gave your consciousness an alternate place to go, as opposed to sitting, well, okay, my analogy. When you are sitting on the mantra instead of in the mess, you just got out of the water. Mess is still there, right? But you extricated yourself. You put your consciousness elsewhere. These are the reasons that meditation works. Do you understand that, right? Is there another spiritual thing that the guru touched you? Yes, but I'm not interested in that. None, really. All that stuff happens by itself. You don't have to think about it. Don't even get involved in it. You understand that? If there are deeper layers of things, just as, a guru gave you a mantra and it's powered with every rishi that ever said it, that's what they tell us, all right? Probably true, all right? It says all this stuff. Fine, what's that got to do with you? It's true anyways, right? You don't need to think about it. You understand that? So if you're sitting there following your breath and God forbid your breath stops and you go into Samadhi, oh my God, I hope you're all right, right? And then you come back, all right? It's just what happened while you were doing your work. That's not your work. Don't you ever try to go into Samadhi. Don't you ever try to achieve these high spiritual states, because all that they will do is become part of your ego. Do you understand that? I went into Samadhi. Meher Baba talked against Samadhi, one of the greatest masters ever walked the face of the earth. He said, I go to India, I see these people, they're totally breathless. You can put your finger under their nose. They sit there for days. They don't breathe. All these people come around, put flowers next to them. They're bowing down to them, right? And then they come back and start yelling at everybody. Why are you over there? You're sitting too close. Go over here. And everybody said, no, I'm not interested. I'm in trouble, all right. You have work to do. Do you understand that? That's where the focus should be. So there are these techniques. You all have different techniques. You all have different personalities. You have different tendencies. Fine. Find something that you feel comfortable with, that works with you, and just use it for the purpose I said. First of all, to start, can you achieve a seat of objective observation where you are watching your mind and you're watching your heart? Now, that people misunderstand even there, because they say, I'm watching my mind. Okay, I'm watching my mind. I'm watching my mind. I say, no, that's not watching your mind. That's your mind watching your mind. Do you understand that? You created a layer inside your mind that thinks it's supposed to look at the other layer of your mind. You are always watching your mind, or you wouldn't know what you were thinking. Do you understand that? Do you have thoughts? How do you know? Do you have to try to know that you have thoughts? You wish you didn't know. You are always the witness. You are always there. Does your heart ever hurt? Anybody ever have a heart that hurt? How do you know? No, I'm serious. How do you know your heart hurts? Sounds like a stupid question, doesn't it? That is the witness. The one that knows what's going on. You don't have to try. How hard do you have to try to see that your heart hurts? How much, better meditate for 20 hours so that you're conscious enough to know that your heart hurts. No, you don't have a problem. Your heart hurts, you know your heart hurts. Who knows your heart hurts? So don't ever misunderstand what's meant by objective observation or witness consciousness. It is not something you do. It is not an act of will. It is not a place you go. It is the state of being aware of what is going on inside your mind and what is going on inside your heart. Obviously, you know what is going on in your mind and what's going on in your heart, or we wouldn't be talking about it. The problem is you get sucked in. You get into, you know the waters are tumultuous, but they're so tumultuous that you dove in and you're drowning and so on. All right? The highest analogy I can give you to witness consciousness is as follows. You walk into a room, there's people, places, things, everything going on. It's a nice place, big party, right? And there's this little TV screen in the corner, little flat screen, not a big one, not 65-inch, right? Just a 22-inch, 23-inch, right? It's sitting over there. And all of a sudden you're walking around and something catches your attention. What does that mean? Your consciousness starts focusing on what's on the TV screen instead of focusing on what's in the room. Perfectly normal, correct? But all of a sudden it's really interesting, like something you've always wanted to know about your whole life. All of a sudden it shows up on the TV screen. You start to really get sucked in. Next thing you know, and you don't even know how, you're sitting on a couch and there's nothing else in this room. There's no people, there's no place, there's no thing, there's no party. There's just what's going on the TV screen. Ever happened to you? Or a book, you can do it, right? We say you got lost in the book. You got lost in the TV program. Why'd you get lost? Because it was so interesting to you that your consciousness became fixated on it and was not aware of anything else. All right? So that is the state of being in the rapids. You're now lost in the object. The subject is lost in the object. Are you sitting there on the couch? Yes. Are you in the party? Yes. But your consciousness is not. You have projected your consciousness. Your consciousness has been attracted or distracted, any word you want to use, so that it's now involved in the object of consciousness, which is the TV screen, what's going on there, and not paying attention to anything else. That's what happens when you get lost in your mind. You're not in your mind. You're sitting on the couch of self watching the mind, just like you sit on the couch and watch the TV, right? You are aware of what the mind's doing, aren't you? All right? All you have to do is be less interested, and that has to be the essence of it. If you are less interested in what's going on that TV, you're going to find yourself back on the couch and, oh, it's boring. A commercial came on. Oh, what was Joey doing? Oh, where are the kids? Oh, how much time? Right? You woke up. That's what it means to wake up. That's what it means to come back to the seat of self. So if what's going on in the mind or the heart is so distracting, is so interesting, you're going to be sucked into it. So that's not witness consciousness. You're still conscious. You're still aware. You're just too aware. How's that? You're fixated. You're too aware. It's not that you're not aware. You got a little bit too close, didn't you? And the next thing you know, you're lost in jealousy. You're lost in fear. You're lost in insecurity. You're lost in heart pain and so on. So you need to find out for yourself how it is that instead of trying to build another layer of mind that you say is be here now, I'm supposed to be here now. Okay, I'm being here now. Am I being here now? I think so. No, I wasn't there a minute ago. Maybe. That's tiring, isn't it? That's tough, man. Hey, I grew up in the 60s. That's what all we're doing when Ram Dass put the book out, right? Oh, are you here now? I don't know. Am I here now? Instead, you realize you are always there, or you wouldn't know that you know that you know. You just got too close. So again, it's not about coming back to the seat of consciousness. It's about letting go of what you're paying attention to. It's always about letting go. Do you understand that? So when you meditate or you do any of the practice you're doing, remember the purpose is that you be there and you be aware that you're there and you're aware of what's going on. If you will do this and practice this during your practices, I would call it your practices, if you'll do this, you're going to find out all by itself that as terrible as it is, you're going to be there all day. At some point, you're just going to be there all day, and you'll hate me for it. You're going to notice that your heart goes through, your heart loves somebody, and your mind says, oh my God, they're my soulmate. And they pick their nose, and my soulmate would never pick their nose. And you start watching this maniacal thing that's going on in there, don't you? Right? And it's not nearly as much fun, temporarily, as getting lost in the TV screen and believing that it's your life. And oh my God, we're going to get a house and it's going to be so beautiful. Right. Okay. Let me clue you in. While those rapids are going on in there, there's not a single place you can stick your head up. Oh, I can breathe now. Yeah, don't worry. It'll come back over you. You understand that? You got to do the real work. So I've showed you what the real work is. Get out of that stream, because you're not in it. You're just projecting your consciousness into it. Sit on the side and then notice there are rocks. This whole talk's going to do that. Notice there are rocks. And then I'm going to teach you how to take the rocks out. And then it's over. You'll never have to do anything. No acts of will, not what I need to do to maintain my spiritual state. That's ridiculous. You understand that? There will be nothing left but the highest state that could possibly exist. It will never betray you, nothing. All right? That's what I want for you. So basically, first, you need to achieve a state of what's called witness consciousness, objective observation. But now you understand what it means. You're already there. You're already watching the TV. You're already on the couch. The problem is you have projected your consciousness into the mess so much that you lost your center, what we call your seat of self or your center. But you're still aware. So my experience is that the highest way that you can come back to seat of self is not through an act of forceful spiritual will. It is through an act of letting go of what you're clinging to. So you're sitting there and somebody doesn't say hello to you when you call out, "Hey, Sally, how are you doing?" They don't say hello, and all of a sudden you feel insecure inside. Is that just me, or you know anything about that? Any of you know what the word insecure means? I just made it up, right? Okay. You start feeling these weird things going on inside. Correct? All right. What you need to be willing to do is notice it got weird. And the tendency is going to be, I don't want it to be weird. We still there, right? I don't like it. I don't want it to be weird. So notice, it's very deep. You're going to want to do something about it. Do you hear me? You're not going to want to sit there and weird. You're going to want to do something about it. And your tendency is to go either running after Sally. "Sally, didn't you hear me?" Right? Or to talk to George. "How come, was something wrong with Sally? Did she not hear me? What do you think?" Right? Or call up later, or make a note, or text somebody, or you're going to do something to try to make the weirdness feel better. Anybody there? This is your spiritual work. This is right where the tires hit the rubber hits the road. All right? So you want a tendency to do that. If you're not doing that, that's if you're a more assertive, aggressive type person. If you are somebody who's a little shyer, a little more withdrawn, you suppress. You sit there and say, "Well, I don't know why she didn't call me. I don't know. I don't care. I don't want to think about it." And you'll push it away. Ever do that? Ever push away the ickiness? I don't want to feel it. I don't want to feel this. I can't have time for this. Right? So you are either fight or flight. You're either out there fighting, changing, calling, doing something, or coming inside and pushing this away. Those are the two normal human reactions to yickiness. And you do it all the time. What one does is build up these suppressions inside of you. Believe me, push it away. She didn't mean anything. I know she didn't mean anything. Push it away. Wait until next time you see Sally. Wait until next time you hear Sally's name. Tell me what's going to happen. You're going to feel the ickiness again. Yes or no? Okay, that's because you kept it inside of you. You stored it inside of you. That is the most ridiculous thing in the world. "I don't like the meal I just ate. It made me sick. Please give me more so I can take it home, taste it every morning to remind myself how sick it made me." That's what you're doing when you push yicky stuff inside of you and you push it away. You're storing it inside of you. Of course it's going to come back up when it gets triggered. Triggered by the name Sally. Triggered by a car that looks like Sally's car. Triggered by anything. You understand that? You don't want that stuff in there, all right? What about if I run after it? I call that being Mr. and Miss Fix-It. I'm going to fix it, right? I'm going to fix it. Fixer-upper, right? I'm going to run after Sally to find out what's going on. Right? I'm going to write her a note. I'm going to text somebody. I'm going to ask George if could he talk to Sally, but don't mention that I got upset because it could have been nothing, all right? Oh, my God. I don't care how tactful you are. It's disgusting, all right? That's where karma comes from. Listen, you guys use these words, and very few people understand it. If you suppress something, you built the karma, if you will, inside yourself because you set up a spring that you push down with the potential to come back up. So you're carrying the past inside of you triggered. If you go outside because of the yickiness inside, I guarantee you, in the end, anything you touch will get yicky. If you run after Sally and sit there and say, "Why didn't you say hello?" You hit Sally's stuff. "What are you talking about? I didn't do anything. You're the one." And next thing you know, you get this whole shtick going. You hear me? And ever see that happen? And it escalates up, and it just gets absolutely ridiculous. You know, you have a lover, right? And you said, I love you. And that night, "I love you." And they said, "Yeah, I love you too." He's like, "Oh." But, you're not going to say anything, right? So 3 days later, right, all of a sudden you go up to somebody and say, I don't feel like you love me like you used to. Oh, I do. What are you saying? Why are you saying that? Well, the other night, God, you're so insecure. I can't even deal with you. I didn't do anything. And all of a sudden you're in a fight. You understand that? Anybody? I'm sorry to be so personal, right? This stuff is terrible. That's karma. You took the garbage inside of you and you dumped it into your environment. Most of you like to think that you're environmentalist. You understand that? That you don't want people polluting and so on. You're polluting every second. You're taking this garbage that came up inside and you're dumping it out into the world. And it will come back. It will pollute. How's that? Right? Pollution is its own karma, isn't it? It pollutes. Okay? It makes a mess. So it's not, if you're in there, you're not comfortable, you want to do something, it's Mr. Fix It or Miss Fix It is not going to do it. It's going to make a mess. Miss or Mr. Suppress It is not going to do anything. Well, what are my choices? That's what nobody will teach you. There's another choice. When the yickiness comes up inside and you are conscious of it, you are aware, you're in a witness, and you see that I'm not comfortable with it, let it go. But I didn't fix it, that's right. But I didn't push it away, that's right. Let it go. Everything needs its day in the sun. So this yickiness has come up, you're conscious, and what you do is you don't resist it. You don't go with it and you don't run away from it. You just relax. That's what I teach you. Relax when you see it. You are the consciousness. I am watching something on TV that's not comfortable. It's just a damn TV. It'll come, it'll go. I don't need to throw something at the TV. I don't have to run out of the house screaming. I can just let the moment pass by and finish its flow through me. That doesn't feel very natural, does it? Someday it'll be a natural thing. You have to train yourself to realize it is just the stuff that's inside of you that got hit, the rocks. That's why it caused the current. If you will relax and release, believe it or not, the water will wash the rocks away. If whatever's holding the rocks in place is not there, the flow of the stream can cleanse itself. If you will relax inside when this disturbance happens inside of you, just relax, breathe, do mantra, whatever you want. Just leave it alone, which is the hardest thing to do, isn't it? Right? The hardest thing to do. You're sitting there, you're with your boyfriend or girlfriend or spouse, and they're dancing with somebody, and you think it's cute until all of a sudden this is a little bit too close, a little bit too long, and this jealousy comes up inside of you. Right? I'm telling you, it's the same thing as with Sally. If you do anything about it, suppress it, you'll ruin your relationship. You understand that? Well, I want to give her the space. You push it down there. You're never going to love that person again the way you loved them before because you just blocked the flow of love with that garbage you just shoved inside of you. Do you understand that? So you thought you were being high. I don't want to dump this jealousy on them. I've always been jealous. I don't want to say anything. But you pushed it down. When you push it down, you are stopping and blocking your Shakti flow. Or I'm going to go out and say something. Oh, yeah, that'd be cute, right? Or I could walk by and accidentally spill my drink on him or something, right? Anything like that, just the noise that the mind makes about trying to fix it. I'm telling you, let go. What do you mean? I don't want this stuff inside of me. Therefore, I'm going to let it go. If you don't want something, you let it go. You don't keep it, all right? So you relax. And if you will relax, I assure you, over time, not once, takes time. It took time to put all that junk in there. Over time, you have created a space inside of you by relaxing into the seat of self where this garbage will get pushed up. It has to come up. It's going to come up. You're going to feel it. It will go through.